Loneliness. It's not just being alone, it's the silence that echoes even when someone's beside you. It's sitting in a crowded room and feeling invisible. And the truth is, loneliness isn't rare. It's one of the most common psychological states in the modern world. But here's the paradox. We've never been more connected, and yet, never more disconnected inside. This is the psychology of loneliness and how to overcome it. Loneliness isn't just an emotion. It's a biological signal, like hunger or thirst, telling you that you need connection. Psychologists call it social pain, and your brain treats it exactly like physical pain. The same area, the anterior cingulate cortex, lights up when you feel rejected as when you touch something burning hot. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a breakup and a broken bone. It only knows something vital is missing. But here's the dark twist. When you feel lonely for too long, your brain starts to defend itself. It becomes hypervigilant, constantly scanning for rejection, expecting to be heard again. You start to misread neutral faces as judgment. You pull away before others can pull away from you. Loneliness makes you see danger where there is none. And in protecting yourself, you isolate even more. That's how loneliness becomes a loop, a psychological echo chamber. We've built a world that connects everyone and empties everyone. Technology gives us the illusion of closeness, but often without the chemistry of presence. We see faces, not eyes. We send texts, not touch. We share posts, not pain. And the brain can't tell what's missing, only that something feels wrong. Studies show that social media overuse increases feelings of loneliness and depression. Not because people are cruel, but because constant comparison makes your own life feel inadequate. You don't see reality, you see highlights. And highlights are never home. The world has become noisy. But loneliness thrives in noise. Because noise keeps you from hearing yourself. To understand loneliness, you have to go deeper, into the subconscious. Loneliness often begins in childhood. Maybe you learned early that love had to be earned. Maybe you were praised for being quiet, strong, or independent, and you learned that needing others was weakness. But that's not strength. That's self-protection disguised as peace. Inside, your inner child still waits for someone to notice, to listen, to hold space. Psychologists call this attachment wounding, and it explains why some people isolate when hurt, while others cling too tightly. Your patterns of loneliness are not failures. They're survival strategies. You disconnected because it once kept you safe. But safety isn't the same as healing. Healing begins when you stop surviving and start trusting again. Most people think the cure for loneliness is to find more people. But that's not true. Because if you don't feel connected to yourself, you can't feel truly connected to anyone else. Real connection starts inward. It begins with silence, the kind that doesn't hurt, but heals. The kind where you sit with your thoughts and finally listen to the voice you've been ignoring. Psychologists call this self-connection. It's the foundation of every healthy relationship. When you know yourself, your emotions, your needs, your triggers, you stop demanding others to fill your void, and instead, you start sharing your wholeness. That's when connection becomes real. Not dependency, but resonance. Because people don't connect through perfection, they connect through truth, through vulnerability. Vulnerability is terrifying, but it's the antidote to loneliness. When you show someone who you really are, you give them permission to do the same. Psychologist Brené Brown calls it the birthplace of connection. Every time you hide, you protect your ego. But every time you open up, you protect your soul. You don't need to be understood by everyone, just seen by a few who truly matter. And that's enough. Here's what psychology and neuroscience reveal. You can rewire your brain out of loneliness. It takes practice. 1. Practice micro-connections. Smile at strangers. Say hello. Your brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, even in tiny interactions. 1. Reconnect with nature. Sunlight increases serotonin. Movement decreases cortisol. You feel grounded, literally. 1. Reframe solitude. Being alone isn't being lonely. Solitude is where creativity and insight grow. Loneliness turns into peace when you stop resisting it. 1. Talk, even when it's hard. Call a friend, join a group. Human connection heals more than you think. 1. Be kind to others and to yourself, because compassion breaks isolation faster than logic ever could. Loneliness doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind is reminding you that you were never meant to do this alone. Connection isn't luxury, it's oxygen. But it starts with one simple, radical act: to show up as you. Because when you stop pretending, you stop being alone. And that's when love, real love, finds you again. You are not alone in your loneliness. Every heart that beats beside you has known the same ache and the same hope. So take a breath. Look up. Reach out. The world is still waiting to connect. Stay curious. Stay kind. And remember, connection begins within. In an era where hyperconnectivity through digital means is a norm, a paradox silently unfolds. Loneliness is becoming a global epidemic. Despite the illusion of constant connection, more individuals report feeling isolated, misunderstood, and emotionally detached. Loneliness, once considered a mere byproduct of solitude, is now recognized as a significant psychological and physiological challenge affecting people across all age groups. This article explores the psychology of loneliness, distinguishing it from the state of being alone, identifying its causes and effects on mental health, and outlining strategies for fostering meaningful human connections in an increasingly isolated world. Being alone versus feeling lonely. It is essential to understand that being alone is not synonymous with loneliness. Many people choose solitude for self-reflection, creativity, or peace. This state of aloneness can be rejuvenating and spiritually fulfilling. Conversely, loneliness is the subjective feeling of disconnection from others, even when surrounded by people. It is not about the quantity of social interactions, but the quality and depth of those connections. As psychiatrist Dr. Vivek Murthy, former U.S. Surgeon General, aptly states in his book Together, loneliness is the discrepancy between the connections you have and the connections you need. Murthy 2020. The root causes of loneliness. Loneliness stems from various sources: psychological, social, and environmental. Some of the primary causes include 1. Social isolation. Geographical relocation, retirement, bereavement, or the breakdown of social networks can lead to physical and emotional isolation. This is especially common among the elderly and caregivers. 1. Low self-esteem. Individuals with negative self-perception may withdraw due to feelings of unworthiness, fearing rejection or judgment, which further perpetuates loneliness. Cacioppo and Patrick, 2008. 1. Digital dependency. Excessive reliance on virtual communication through social media or messaging apps often lacks emotional depth and physical presence, making real-life bonds weaker. Over time, this digital disconnection masks itself as pseudo-connection. 1. Mental health disorders. Conditions like depression, social anxiety, and trauma-related disorders often co-occur with loneliness. The stigma around mental health can prevent individuals from reaching out for help, reinforcing isolation. 1. Life transitions. Entering adulthood, divorce, parenthood, or aging can trigger identity crises or changes in support systems, contributing to emotional detachment and loneliness. The psychological and physiological effects of chronic loneliness. Chronic loneliness is not just an emotional ailment. It has far-reaching consequences on both the mind and body. Research shows that it activates the brain's pain centers, much like physical pain. Eisenberger and Lieberman, 2004. 1. Increased risk of depression and anxiety. Lonely individuals often exhibit symptoms of persistent sadness, anxiety, irritability, and hopelessness. A study published in Psychiatry Research links chronic loneliness with a heightened risk of major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. Lim et al., 2016. 1. Cognitive decline and dementia. In older adults, loneliness is associated with a 40% increased risk of dementia. Holwerda et al., 2014. Cognitive functions such as attention, memory, and decision-making also suffer due to prolonged social isolation. 1. Sleep disturbances. Loneliness disrupts sleep quality, causing insomnia or fragmented sleep, which in turn weakens mental resilience. Hawkley et al., 2010. 1. Physical health deterioration. Loneliness has been linked to elevated blood pressure, inflammation, and cardiovascular disease. According to a meta-analysis by Holt-Lundstad et al., 2015, loneliness is as lethal as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness across demographics. 1. Children and adolescents. Bullying, academic pressure, or lack of emotional support at home can lead to withdrawal and digital overdependence, furthering emotional alienation. 1. Working adults. Despite workplace interactions, many professionals experience emotional loneliness due to a lack of authentic connections or work-life imbalance. 1. Elderly aging often brings about loss of partners, physical ailments, and shrinking social circles, making this group particularly vulnerable to loneliness and depression. Societal implications, a silent public health crisis. The World Health Organization and public health experts recognize loneliness as a serious public health concern. Japan has appointed a Minister of Loneliness, and the UK launched a loneliness strategy to combat this growing issue. BBC News, 2021. These measures are critical, as loneliness contributes to reduced productivity, increased healthcare costs, and community fragmentation.